People have been questioning how much do Leclerc, how much do Perez care about this battle? Is it all about the championship win? We got our answer on Sunday in Brazil. They both really care, and they both were hoping for team orders on Sunday, right at the end of the Grand Prix, finishing behind their teammates. Neither of them got it, but Red Bull were asking Verstappen to get out of the way. Ferrari were not asking Sainz to get out of the way of Leclerc. So it's an interesting one. Verstappen ignored team orders. The team actually were requesting him come in.
Max, if we don't pass Fernando on the exit of 12, can we let Checo through, please? Let Checo back through. Yeah, don't worry about the DRS, Max. Let Checo through. Let Checo through. Max, let Checo through, please.
But Max did not oblige and was very, very solid in his response over the team radio, saying, don't ask me again, we've spoken about this before, I'm not doing it.
Max, what happened?
I told you already last time, you guys don't ask that again to me, okay? Are we clear about that? I gave my reasons and I stand by it.
For Ferrari, I think it was a harder call because Sainz was in a podium position, and podiums mean something to these drivers as well. If you're someone like Lewis Hamilton, you've won over 100 Grand Prix, you've won 7 championships, then whether you get a podium is probably less meaningful, but you still get up there a bit of recognition at the end of the Grand Prix. So everyone's still hoping at least for a podium, if not a win. And for Sainz, it's big for Carlos Sainz still to get a podium, especially having recovered well from a sprint where he was in the top 3 as well. And the gap between the two Ferrari drivers was also quite big at that stage. So I can understand why Ferrari wouldn't have got Sainz off the podium to help Leclerc in his battle for second in the championship. For Verstappen, though, you think, why on earth would he not give up 6th position? He held on for his 3rd worst finish of the season out of 21 races. It was a baffling choice by Max to not help his teammate out. And this is a teammate that's helped out quite well in the past, including probably helping him to the championship in Abu Dhabi last year. Without Checo's defence, maybe even with the safety car, Hamilton has a free pit stop to cover off Verstappen, and he's the champion. So Perez has helped out a lot. Verstappen did not return the favour, and afterwards there was a little clue as to maybe why he feels like he does.
I understand why he is disappointed, but they also have to understand why I did it, and I gave them the reasons why.
Is it anything to do with Monaco this year?
You can decide that. I'm not going to say it.
So Monaco, that's this year, and that's qualifying, where Sergio Perez ended it in the wall, and Verstappen was not happy about it. He was on an improved lap towards the end. He wasn't actually very quick through the Monaco weekend. It was probably his competitively worst weekend of the year. Checo was actually quicker through the weekend, but right at the end, he had this crash, and it denied Max Verstappen a chance to get ahead of his teammate. So we can have a look at Perez on board, coming through towards his crash, and comes into Portier. You can just hear spike of throttle, and he loses control of the car. Now, at the time, we didn't think a huge amount of this. Drivers crash in Monaco, it happens. It's a very tough street circuit, the tightest of them all, and it sort of seemed like Perez had little to gain. He was already in 3rd behind both Ferraris. Was he just pushing hard to try and beat the Ferraris and trying to do the impossible? But actually looking at it with more detail, I can see why it looks a little bit fishy for Verstappen. Checo comes in, and you could just hear he's turning in, and there's a big spike of throttle as he just plants the gas hard. But then it also, interestingly, there's no attempt, once he loses control of the car, there's no attempt to have a big opposite lock and try and save control. If you look at the steering wheel, he straightens it up, but he never goes more than that, and he's almost resigned straight away to his fate. The natural instinct of the driver is to just plant on opposite lock and try and save the car. So not only does he jump on the gas, which seems to instigate the spin, but he also is fairly resigned to his fate as soon as he does that. And maybe that would have happened anyway at Portier. The wall comes at you pretty quickly. There's another question mark here about, should drivers lose their lap time for causing red flags or even yellow flags in qualifying? We've seen it a few times now. It's always very difficult to prove 100% that someone has brought out a red or a yellow flag on purpose, because you never can know the mindset. People make mistakes. People make even really bad and sometimes silly mistakes in the car. Nico Rosberg in Monaco back in 2014, it looked deliberate, going through the runoff area at Mirabeau and claiming pole position. Again, difficult to prove, and he got away with it. We've also looked at Fernando Alonso in Baku this year, bringing out a yellow flag. Again, to me, looked like he did it deliberately, but got away with it. There's other cases. Charles Leclerc in Monaco last year crashed from pole position, denied anyone the chance to try and beat him. Unfortunately for Leclerc, that day it meant that he couldn't start the race because the damage was too severe for him. But it was another case of a driver bringing out the red flag and, at least in the short term, gaining from it. And actually George Russell in Brazil brought out the red flag in qualifying, ended up beached in the gravel, stopped anyone else from improving. And it was a nice result for him, really, in the end, to qualify third with some of his main rivals, Leclerc, Perez, Hamilton, all further back. It set him up for a Grand Prix win. Now, I don't think for George there was any level of intent about it. I think it was difficult conditions. The track was getting wetter. It was a bit of a sloppy mistake, to be honest, to go out on the grass. But you never do know quite what's happening. I don't think anyone would have improved in Brazil anyway, because the conditions were getting worse. But overall, should drivers lose a flying lap or their best lap or whatever for a red flag or a yellow flag, maybe the time is coming where they do, because these things are happening somewhat regularly now, and it's unfair on the other drivers who haven't made a mistake to be punished for someone that has. And that's why Verstappen was annoyed. But to bring it back to Brazil, I still think there's no excuse for doing what he did. He's obviously not happy with his teammate, but this is still a teammate that has helped him out in the past and is really desperate for that second place in the championship. Red Bull have never had a 1-2 in the Drivers' Championship. They really want it. Checo really wants it. And he has helped his teammate out plenty of times in the past. In fact, the race after Monaco, he jumped out of the lead for Max then as well. And Verstappen, giving up a 6th for a 7th position is nothing to him. It would have been absolutely no cost to Max. You never know. He will never know when the next chance he'll need a teammate to support him will be. Maybe it will be next year. Mercedes are looking quicker. Can Ferrari get a better car? Will he need Checo to be on side again? I think it was very small-minded from Verstappen to hold on, even if he felt aggrieved from before.
Yeah, thank you for that, guys. Thank you.
I'm sorry about that, Checo.
We'll debrief everything afterwards.
Yeah, it shows who he really is.
So that was a little look into the team orders saga that is sure to rage on before Abu Dhabi. But there was loads of action through the whole Brazil weekend. Plenty of incident at the start of the Grand Prix and a stunning qualifying performance from Kevin Magnussen. Check it out on F1 TV.